Computer.
Am I okay? Is my sound still coming in? I jostled it again.
It's different.
You sound a little loud. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's peaking.
God damn it. How about now? Better?
Yes.
Okay. So a mute and an unmute seems to help.
Yeah, we figured
sausage.
that out like last time or whatever.
Yeah, I just confirming, really. All right, here we go.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast a marlow or two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another weird and pissed off episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 352, recorded on Wednesday, January 5th, 2020 deuce. Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Thing from 1982. That was the winner of the January poll pick. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randu.
Howdy do, boys. How's it going?
It's going well. Glad you're not Frosty the motherfucking snowman.
Dude, I very well could have been, but,
Yeah.
you know, you should see the other fucker. That's all I can say.
You should see the weather.
It doesn't make sense, but it's all I can say.
Last but not least, calling in from the Jacksonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up, bitchy boy? Thanks. That thing.
That thing's
There are so
leaking.
many songs with the word thing in it, but
No.
you chose one that does not have it.
That's close enough.
That thing. That thing. That could have gone so many places with that.
Do
one, man.
that
Damn.
thing you do, you old
There you
bitch.
go. You know, I mean, the options are
thong
truly
you
limited.
do.
Yeah.
That thong you do.
That thong you do.
Ooh, that's a matchup that needs to happen. I don't know how it works, but it sounds
Do
great.
them stains you do, you old bitch. Just switch it all
Fit
around.
the word bish
Boy.
into anything, and it's a soju jam.
This is our musical episode. Every pop culture
Oh my
thing
god!
has its own musical episode. We'll just be singing. everything
Classically,
today.
the best Simpsons episode is the music episode, aka the one everybody decided to hate the Simpsons over.
I never saw that. Thank God. Apparently, it
I mean,
sucks.
it doesn't get much better after that. I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
stays on that level for
Actually,
a while.
that's going to be on what you've been watching. Actually, I just hit that one.
Oh no shit! No shit. Well, no one.
I know.
See
All
my
right.
vest, you know. See my vest.
See my dude. Okay. All right.
Let's move it on.
Let's
Yeah.
do the podcast.
Let's tackle some housekeeping real quick before I get into the main event. Here's your first reminder. We got a brand new poll pick posted. It is our February poll posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote in a movie we're talking about this February. The theme for February is My Blood-Sucking Valentine, and the three movies to vote between are A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, Nosferatu the Vampire, and Shadow of the Vampire.
Whoa, Bob! This is your takeover month. We're doing
It
it
is.
again. We
I'm
love
taking over.
it. We enjoyed it so much. It reminded us of the old days. We're doing it again. So, why did you pick these movies?
I love vampire movies that aren't like exactly traditional vampire movies, and I think all three of these kind of fit that. And also, I think all three of these movies are sort of like underseen and under-discussed. So I thought they would be pretty good picks. Regardless of what wins, I think we'll have a good discussion about them.
Cool. How the numbers looking?
It's heavily weighted in favor of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Okay.
That's
That'll be a
Yeah.
good discussion, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. That's not the call I would have seen coming. I always get these fucking things wrong. Like
Really?
classically, I don't know if I've ever correctly called a poll pick in our entire history. And I think we've done over 40 of them now.
Wait, the Nosferatu one's the one from the 70s, right? Or wait.
Yeah.
70s one, yeah.
Nosferatu,
Okay.
the vampires from the 70s.
I know you
Shadow
like
of-
that one a lot, but I think that would be more
Yeah.
obscure for most people.
I don't know. It's a Herzog movie. The
Oh,
Cinedorks
yeah.
out there would certainly
Yeah.
be drawn to that, I would think. But I mean, I guess they
Shadow-
also like A Girl Walks. So
Shadow of the Vampires from 2000, I think.
I've
Something
seen
like that.
You told us about that one. And actually, that just popped up in something else. I was like reading an article lately, and it was like most like underrated or underseen. And that was on there. And I was like,
Nobody-
oh, shit.
Nobody seems
Bob
to talk
Cribbs'
about
notes.
Yeah.
it. And no, I have it on the DVD. I have for quite some time. But yeah, it basically, this particular movie is about the making of the original Nosferatu. But it treats its character, its titular character of Nosferatu as Shrek, as being an actual vampire, not an actor playing a vampire.
Nice.
So you get sort of like a behind the scenes, almost like documentary of the movie being made, where Willem Dafoe plays Nosferatu or Shrek, Max Shrek. But he's like actually a vampire who's like killing people on set and stuff.
That's cool. Yeah.
John Malkovich is crazy in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into it unless we talk about it though. So
Yeah, get all your votes in before the end of January, and we'll see what movie we're talking about this February. In other Patreon news, we got a brand new mini cast dropping this Friday. Juice and I were talking about one of the more recent movies to drop in 2021, which was Antlers. Finally came out. That's on Blu-ray everywhere. I don't know, Juice. Like you wanna throw out some little hints?
Yeah, I think, it's always more interesting if we can get more than just one person talking about a subject. So we did this one together, and it was one that made it on my top 10 list. I won't tell you which. Go back and listen to the episode. But it did make it on Bob's, and I was pretty curious why. So I put him through the ringer of, why he thinks he's so good that he just
You really
think you're
fucked me
so
over.
good.
yeah.
Bob, this is an Antlers intervention. Explain yourself.
But yeah, I thought it was a good discussion. I thought we got into some of maybe the deeper problems with the film, but also some of the major strengths. So I think it was a good discussion.
Yeah, I
here's a
agree.
soundbite from it.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
You lint liquor,
Wow.
Bob.
Strong
Bob's a
stuff.
Lint liquor.
Lint Liquor Bob. That's going to be dropping on our Patreon website this Friday.
Bob called me a
and-
cootie queen.
Cooter.
That's so Bob.
You cooter
Slam,
queen juice.
slam that mini cast right into your ear holes this Friday. What else do we have going on? That's all for Patreon, I believe. We are going to be doing something that is going to be new for 2022 that we need to mention. Typically, we drop our shows on Monday mornings. We've been doing that pretty consistently for the past year or two. We're going to shift slightly and start dropping our new episodes on Wednesdays. So don't let that throw you off if you're waiting for our shows to drop on Monday. We're just regularly going to start posting them on Wednesdays for 2022.
That's an old school vibe, though. I think we used to
It is.
like shoot in the middle of the week and drop it
Yeah.
on like a Thursday or something like that.
Yeah, we think we've gone to like every fucking damn.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
There's no
Over the-
day left.
I mean, after
untouched.
like 8 years, I mean, you're gonna hit
Yeah.
all the days.
yeah.
all the
And when
days.
you're as unprofessional and inconsistent as us, you're
Well-
just gonna do it anytime you can.
It's what happens when most everybody's moving from across country or to like different countries and cry. Yeah.
Bob is the
I-
cornerstone that never moves.
He sure is
You
square.
You can't get me out of the 904. Try. See what happens.
People have tried. The bodies are still missing.
The last bit that I have anyways is I wanted to give a quick shout out to a cut above which is friends of ours. It's another podcast. You can get it anywhere you get your podcast. They invited me on this week to talk about Scream 4 in preparation of the new Scream movie coming out. It was a really fun conversation, and if you have any interest in the Scream franchise, definitely check out A Cut Above anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah, and also I would like to do a little call to action. I could be late on this, but I don't think I am. If you listen to us on Spotify, we often call for Apple reviews. But I noticed that they have ratings on their podcast now.
I think it's a new thing.
I think so too. Yeah. So if you follow or if you listen to us on Spotify, you can now give us
Andy
a
like us.
Yeah, so please do that. Here's also a little hint. If you listen to us on Spotify, we have 2 profiles on Spotify. They look exactly the same and they have all the same content. There's just 2 of them. So make sure you rank both of them or rate both of them. And also jump over to Let's Get Physical Media too and give them a rating too, because you know that's us. As well.
That's also us.
Yeah, so we have 3 things you need to rate on Spotify, if you will, please. 5-star or the highest rating. I think it's 5. So the highest. Yeah. Give us the best.
That's clearly that's the only one we're soliciting. The rest is up to you, I guess, between you and God.
Apologies for any confusion caused by us having 2 accounts on Spotify. It was a glitch on Spotify's side, and we've contacted them about it, seeing if they can merge the 2 accounts. And they're like, no, we can just delete one. And we're like, well, anybody that's following that would just no longer get our updates. And like, we don't want to have that happen. So I don't know, Spotify kind of fucked up. I don't know how they did that, to be honest with you.
Whoa. Legally, we will just say that Spotify is a wonderful company and all thoughts are Bob's own.
Honestly, I didn't even start listening to us until it was on Spotify. So I've been like a Spotify listener for years now of us, and I didn't notice. And I wouldn't have known had Bob not told me.
Well, some of our listeners informed me. I don't
really?
listen to podcasts on Spotify, so I had no idea until somebody told me, like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Mistake of assuming we're on top of it.
What's going on here? But anyways, yeah, definitely throw us a rating over on Spotify if you would be so kind. And also, if you haven't rated us on iTunes yet or Apple Podcasts, as it's now called, hit us up over there and drop us a 5-star rating, please. And thank you so much.
If you like us. If you don't like us, please just send us a very angry email. That's fine.
That's fine. We'll read it on air. It'll be hilarious.
Also, oh wait, Bob, you have more?
No, I'm done. What do you got?
My house is still dirty. Also, well, our house, you may have noticed if you follow any of the Fangoria socials, but we were featured on there recently, and let them know how much you enjoy our podcast. They need to know specifically how much you enjoy our podcast.
We're really asking the world these days.
Well, you know.
Yeah, it's a new year. We're laying out all the asks up front, and
look, we desperately need to sell out, and we need you guys to help us make that happen.
It's been 8 years now. We're still not straight to the top. We need to get
just
there.
Right. Podcast good, and then put 5 stars, and that's good. That's perfect.
This podcast good.
Yeah, hit up Fangoria. Bother them on their Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook. They'll love to hear.
Harass them at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's it. Is our house clean now?
Yes.
Hold on, let me check. Is the house clean?
This house is clean.
Nice segue.
Fantastic. Let us transition to the main event. We're talking about The Thing from 1982, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, what ungodly expensive box do you have for this film?
It's not that expensive.
I was
a full puppet of Thing.
I'm working on a little thing myself, and I happened to listen to some Let's Get Physical Media, and it was just oh god, shaking my head at some of the prices y'all are talking about. I mean, they bumped that up to $40 now. I mean, these 4Ks, what's going
that means
on?
big money.
We pay $40 all the time.
all the time. It's a very
we're
important
talking-
qualifier.
We're talking about The Thing.
How defensive
From,
you got, but then had a break real quick.
Had to walk it back just a second.
He's an honest man. I'll give him that.
We're talking about The Thing from 1982 with a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes, directed by John Carpenter. This is based on a short story by John W. Campbell Jr. Stars Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, Keith David, and a whole bunch of other folks. The plot synopsis is as follows. Horror master John Carpenter delivers a masterful exercise in claustrophobic suspense with elaborate special effects that set a high standard for films that followed. Kurt Russell's iconic, intense performance drives the chilling version of the classic The Thing. In the winter of 1982, a 12-man research team at a remote Antarctic research station discovers an alien buried in the snow for over 100,000 years. Soon unfrozen, the form-changing alien wreaks havoc, creates terror, and becomes one of them. Gentlemen, silly question. Had you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randy, kick us off.
Certainly have. I mean, this is maybe one of the most universally loved horror movies among horror fans that I can think of. I don't know of anybody that has the hot take that it's, you know, dog shit or like worthless in some way. I'm sure they exist. And God, please call in and tell us your dumb opinion if you want to do that later on. But yeah, I've seen this movie. I would recommend it. Certainly if you're into horror, certainly if you're into body horror. I mean, the only people I would say don't watch this are people that are squeamish, and obviously, or not likely that those people are listening right now. So hard recommend.
All right, Juice, what about you?
Yes, I had seen this before. The first time, actually, I have a distinct memory of watching this for the first time because it was for this podcast. It was within our first 62 episodes, which is why we're talking about it again, because it's Redemption. But that was the first time I had ever seen it. And it's funny because I actually saw the prequel film that came out like 2011 before this, because me and Bob went to the movie theater to see it, which what a shame that is. So I have watched it many times since then. And in fact, as far as recommendations go, I've been talking to several people this week and have been like, oh, I'm watching The Thing for the podcast. You need to watch it. Oh, you've never seen it? You need to watch it.
This is such a weird thing, but like, I don't know about you guys, but this past week and a half, in like knowing that this episode is coming, I've seen everybody talking about this movie, and for some reason, there's been a weird influx, at least on my feeds, my social feeds.
It's the 40th.
Talking about how great this movie is.
It's the 40th anniversary. That's why we're covering it. I mean, we planned that specifically.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it. No,
also,
but
it's like winter setting in, and people are getting snowed in. You know,
I'm guessing so. Yeah, but like whatever the reason, I was just like I had that weird moment where it's like, oh, I was just talking about this kind of contacts, and now I'm getting ads for them.
I think it's because it's the 40th anniversary, and I would guess that we covered it around the same time when we first covered, because I'm pretty sure it was a winter watch for us as well. Probably, So yeah, Bob.
Yeah,
had you seen this before? What'd you recommend? What kind of box do you have?
I had seen this movie several times before. Absolutely recommend watching The Thing. If you have not seen it before, do yourself a favor and watch it immediately, as soon as you can. Regarding my box, I just have the collector's edition that Scream Factory put out a few years ago. It's actually just pretty easy to come by. Yeah. That's all. That's all.
Oh.
Is it less than $40?
Absolutely less than $40.
Was it always?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Get your hands on it. Do it. It's got a shitload of bonus features.
Did you watch them all?
No, some I did, yes, but like, damn, it's hours.
Oh, really?
Hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah,
I didn't think this movie was that popular.
Right? Who's ever heard of The Thing? From John Carpenter.
My boy Carpenter.
Let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
Boys,
Bob plop synopsis.
I got the
Here we
plot.
go.
This
I
could
got
get
it
a
right
little
here.
complicated. Give
Yeah,
it to
this
us.
is a complicated plot synopsis depending on how you approach.
Let me get through it. Here we go. All right. In Antarctica, a Norwegian helicopter pursues a sled dog near an American research station. One of the Norwegians shoots an American in an attempt to kill the dog. The Americans shoot the Norwegian dead. MacReady and the doctor go investigate the Norwegian base and find it in disrepair, littered with dead bodies, and find a hunk of mangled, burnt humanoid flesh they bring back with them. Blair, the biologist, begins an autopsy on it and finds normal human organs inside. Clark ends up kindling the sled dog, and it eventually mutates and absorbs the other dogs. Childs torches it with a flamethrower, and Blair dissects it, then finding that it can perfectly imitate other life forms as it has perfectly imitated a dog. Some found footage, Norwegian tapes, lead the American crew to a large excavation site containing an alien spaceship. Windows finds Bennings being assimilated by the alien creature, and MacReady burns it. Blair then becomes paranoid after running a computer simulation. So he sabotages the helicopter radio and kills all the remaining sled dogs, so nobody can leave or call for help. The crew imprisons Blair in a shed outside to contain him. Copper suggests a blood test, but all the blood bags have been drained. The crew ends up finding Fuchs' burnt body outside, and they assume that he committed suicide to keep from being assimilated. The crew then suspect MacReady has been assimilated after Knowles finds his mangled clothing. MacReady fends off attacks by threatening to ignite a fistful of dynamite. During this, Norris has a heart attack, leading to Copper trying to resuscitate him with a defibrillator. His chest cavity opens up and eats Copper's arms, killing him. MacReady burns Norris, but his head detaches and crawls away. MacReady then burns the head as well. Clark attacks MacReady with a knife and is shot dead. MacReady deduces each part of the thing is its own individual life form, and thus will try to survive at all costs. He ends up collecting blood samples from all the remaining crews and pokes them with a hot wire to see if the blood recoils in any way. Everyone passes the test, but Palmer, whose blood does jump out of the dish. Palmer then transforms and attacks Windows, causing MacReady to incinerate them both. Childs is left on guard while the rest go to give Blair the hot wire test. They find Blair is gone, and he's also been constructing a small spacecraft to escape. Upon their return, Childs and the generator are completely missing. MacReady, Gary, Knowles all decide to blow up the entire station to keep the thing from escaping. As they set explosives, Blair kills Gary and Knowles. Blair then transforms into a huge creature, and MacReady detonates the station with a stick of dynamite. MacReady sits near the burning station, exhausted, as Childs returns, saying he got lost in the storm pursuing Blair. They both acknowledge their distrust in each other is futile, as they will likely both die, so they share a bottle of scotch. Roll credits. All right. Let's get into The Thing. What a bleak movie.
The Thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Thing.
It's a carpenter.
Yeah, it's also set in Antarctica, and it looks freezing all the time.
Yeah.
Man.
Speaking of that, I absolutely love the setting of this movie. This is basically an alien movie, but it's set on Earth. But considering that it's like set in Antarctica, it basically is like set on a foreign planet, or it might as well be, because there's nobody around. Everything looks extremely foreign. It's covered in snow. It's like, you know, you can't just walk out in the middle of nowhere because you're gonna die anyways. Like, you might as well just be on an alien planet. It
operates on the same frequency as Alien. Like, I mean, this movie is Alien set on Earth. They just found a way of making it remote. And I mean, you have nothing but doctors and scientists, you know, who don't really want to be there but are doing a job, you know, all that. So, like, everything is the same from the setting, except that it is more grounded, which, you know, is almost undercut by the first shot of this movie, which is the alien spacecraft crash landing, which to me, like, I feel like, and having seen a few people do reaction videos and stuff for first time watches and things, I think people are kind of thrown by that. Like, it's a little bit like hokey feeling in comparison to the rest of the movie that we get. That and the later revelation of the fucking flying saucer that Bennings was building. Was it Bennings? No, Blair.
Blair, yeah.
And maybe Childs, we don't know. Building underground. Like those are the things that really make this like a classic alien tale. Those are the ties to classic alien tales that, you know, most people would see and be quicker to associate with something like Mars Attacks than with something actually frightening. So I don't know. I also really appreciate that those are there, because I've been thinking about those again, and it's like there's something about it. It kind of hits the same frequency for me as like Robert Eggers, like The Witch and all those things, where it's like taking lore. I had the right name, right? I always get that name wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. The Witch and The Lighthouse, where he's pulling from like cultural ephemera that is seen now as like hokey Americana bullshit that you could find at a roadside stand, like fucking Roswell, New Mexico. You get a gray keychain or whatever, but he takes it seriously at face value. It's taken seriously and like approached as if it was an actual threat, and not condescendingly so. So I don't know. I appreciate that. I don't know how much of that was like an intentional thought process being made, as much as just John Carpenter telling the story, you know what I mean? But for whatever it's worth, I really like that aspect of things.
So that's interesting that you bring that up, because one of my critiques I was going to say for the later half of this podcast, because I assume we're going to gush about it a lot, but I specifically have that distinct memory of us watching it for the first time. And I remember when we rated it for the first time, I did not give it a 5. And one of my critiques pointed to this opening scene, and I've watched it several times since then, but since I knew we were going to be covering it again, I watched it again, and I thought to myself, you know, I like the music that builds to it, and I like kind of the ripping opening scene of the font a little bit with the
title
lighting and
card.
shit. Yeah.
Oh, that title card is an all-timer for me.
But I do think that this movie, the tone that it goes for throughout the whole rest of the movie, I think it could cut this opening scene. It's still like
it could too.
The
it could.
Yeah, the way that it's shot, and it wobbles, and it doesn't look as clean and impressive, and it sets a weird tone to start the movie for somebody that's never seen it. So I found it interesting that you said you were watching reaction videos, because I remember that feeling like so distinctly, saying like what, this is kind of hokey, but then, you know, it's not at all.
It's the only scene that looks like that in the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy to cut, and I actually think it's better to cut, because if you just start with these guys and then later they go, because you see the spaceship anyways, you see the size, you see it buried in the snow, that is enough to me. I don't need to see it wobble through space.
I to me, it's like it could very well be a case of me like just kind of like falling in love with the totality of it. You know what I mean? Because I love this movie. I really do. Like, it's not going to be any surprise to anybody to hear that, especially having heard the original episode, I'm sure. But you know, to me, I think that the whole package works, and I think it's easy enough to say, like, yeah, you could cut this. It does stand out. It does sort of leave an odd impression to start. But to me, I've come to love it because it almost acts as a little bit of a mislead in that way. And having watched a few people react to it and having the similar experience to what you're describing, I can understand from that perspective, finding it to be like jarring and off-putting and not necessary. And it's like not necessary either way, but I like that it puts people in a certain comfort zone that they are then broken out of throughout the rest of the film, especially once the body horror stuff starts kicking in, when you suddenly realize this is not hokey at fucking all. This movie is going hard to the fucking bone. And like that revelation, I think maybe benefits from having a little hokiness to start. And also I see it as kind of like a paying of respects to the original source material in some way. And maybe it's those things, maybe it's just my interpretation of it. I can't say, but that's how I feel about it anyway.
I do want to say, since we're talking about like some negatives off the top here, like everybody loves this movie today, but like it's sort of in retrospect that it's gained all this love and attention, because back in the day when it came out, nobody went to go see it. Everybody was watching E.T. instead. And the people that did go see this movie hated it because it was way too brutal, way too much gore. They just wrote it off as being like far too gratuitous, like just for the sake of being gratuitous, and like any sort of like theme that was in the movie was sort of like lost to them because of the insane amount of
That's
gore.
so
But, like,
funny to me. Like, go ahead.
That's
Sorry.
what stands out the most to me about this movie, and probably to a lot of people as well, is Rob Bottin's practical effects are among some of the best ever in any movie ever to be made. It's just interesting that like in 1982, maybe people weren't quite ready to see that, but now
I feel like
we
I'm sorry,
like
I
love
keep
it.
cutting you off.
No, go ahead. Go
I
for it.
totally keep cutting you off. I keep thinking you're rapping, but to me, like, I feel like maybe, and this may be a misread on my part, I was not a sentient human person. I was only an infant in the 80s. So I can't speak to anything more than what I've, seen from cultural osmosis and things like that and documentaries and so on. But my understanding of how the 80s was is that, it was experiencing a boom, like in America. In America, people were all about optimism, like not necessarily optimism, but like people were excited and things were generally pretty good. People were, kind of finally letting go of, to some extent, of some of the Watergate shit, and there was still terrible things going on, but people just didn't want to hear about it. It seems like, and people were more interested in. I feel like somebody's gonna come out and make me seem foolish for saying this, but it seems like a time where people did not want a grim as fuck movie like this. Like, you think about like people, maybe you talk about people maybe being put off by the gore, but fucking this is the decade of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, people had no problem with going extreme so long as it had an element of lightheartedness to it. Like, there is some element of lightheartedness to most of those movies, and this movie has none of that. There is no fucking levity in this movie, and maybe that's the difference. That's the only solution I can come up with for why this movie didn't do as well, except for maybe like just nuts and bolts things like how it's promoted or something like that, which I can't speak to.
Yeah, that is kind of wild because literally, well, except maybe the last one, which again, I was going to try to save critiques to the end, but every scene almost that The Thing is in today, 40 years later, is so impressive and impactful. When Bennings runs out and he's got the hands and he does the like kind of scream thing or whatever. Oh,
that scream, buddy.
My God. The dog scene too, because it kind of
just like that.
Just like that. Because it just, the dog scene drops on you almost, and everything's kind of chill, and you think maybe they're gonna build to some tension. No, it just happens. And I like it though, because you are almost in the same place as, the crew. You're like, what the fuck? You're dropped right in the middle of it, and you don't even have, as this becomes a mystery, you feel like you don't even have any time to consider the possibilities. When you're trying to look back and say like, I don't know where everybody was, I didn't know like these were the rules. I like how it puts you as almost like that extra crew member where you're put right in it. It's easy to empathize. But yeah, these effects 40 years later are so fantastic. That dog scene is fucked, dude. When he's like wrapping him up and spraying his shit all over him.
It is truly still. I have never watched that scene and not gotten upset. I guess people are so attached to dogs, and I honestly, you might be touching on one of the reasons people didn't like this movie, because this broke a pretty cardinal rule of even horror movies, which is that you don't go after the innocent animals, at least not on screen. And when you do, it's like a token kill, like in Halloween, even like when Michael snaps the neck of the dog and fucking eats it, apparently. Like that was kind of off screen. You watch these fucking dogs dissolve, and then you see their skulls protruding from the thing later on. It's extremely gruesome, and it's extremely gruesome with a beloved animal, as an innocent animal, as opposed to, a human being. And also, like, it helps that the dog actors, like, I know it was a pretty easy task for them to look for one of them to look pretty vacant and like still, but the way that they shot it, that dog actor might as well win a fucking Oscar in my book, because he sells it. It's like, that is not a normal fucking dog. It feels so wrong. And the presence of dogs just sitting there like, what the fuck's up with this guy? Like,
looking at the wall. I love that.
I know.
It is so effective.
I want to circle back to something you mentioned, Juice, about like the level of like distrust and paranoia amongst the crew in this movie is like so ramped up and palpable that like as an audience member, you almost feel like you're the 14th member of the crew or whatever, and you're also trying to navigate the situation and survive, and like you don't know who you can trust, but you have to rely on somebody to survive. Like you really can't do this alone. So there's like this catch-22 that's built into the plot of this movie that you as an audience member just like so easily fall right into. You put yourself at that camp in Antarctica so easily. I don't know. A lot of movies struggle with that. Like you might be able to connect to a single character in a movie, but I feel like in this movie, you can almost connect to every character. Like you can understand where everybody's coming from, and you try to wonder like, who would I be? Like in this situation,
oh yeah, that's
where would
true.
I go? Yeah. What would I do? I don't, it's crazy to like ponder, and I think that also plays into the vast success and popularity of this movie today. Like it's hard to do that, you know.
And they do a great job with those characters too, because you know that you've got the red herrings and they're all over the place. But I like too about the characters and feeling a part of them. There's like 10-ish initially, but they all feel distinct. 12, and I feel like you can pick almost that. Now some of them are don't have as big of a role, but as they're speaking, I never say like, is that guy? Who is that guy? Like they all feel like they have enough distinct personality and role in this camp that they're easy to spot out, even though like 12 people is quite a bit when you haven't spent a lot of time with them picking out their personalities and stuff like that. I think they do a fantastic job of that. And then almost like you said, like you align with, okay, who would I like think, who would I pair up with, like how would I survive this situation?
Who's making the most sense?
Yeah. Exactly. It's
and
so
who's saying something that makes sense but is lying to you. I mean, paranoia, this movie is a living game of, not living, but this is a filmed version of the game Mafia or Werewolf. Like that's what this is, where you're trying to suss out who's, or I guess Among Us is the newest parallel. But like one thing I wanted to point out, and I know I've brought this up in other episodes about something or other, but in animation there's something called the silhouette test or the silhouette concept. I don't know if I forget. You want to find, when you're designing a character, making a character up, you want to give it a distinctive silhouette. And this movie has more or less, say, only two kinds of silhouettes until the thing comes around. Everybody is pretty fucking samey because of the very nature of their environment. They're trapped in this situation where they have giant coats, beanies, all that shit. But they still manage to be distinctive, to Juice's point. Like, especially on multiple watches, you really start to get a feel of, okay, so Windows is this guy, and he's got the poofy hair, and he's lackadaisical. And then you've got fucking, I don't know, Norris, who's just a little demure and is a little bit like unable to cope with some of this shit. You got Childs, who is very ready to fight. And like Childs and McCready and Wilford Brimley, Blair, those are probably the most distinctive people, like on a silhouette test level. Everybody else really kind of like, you only get to know them through a few lines, but those lines are so effective and so like down to earth and so real and grounded feeling as to be distinctive somehow. And I don't know how they towed that line exactly, but it really works for me.
I wanted to mention one thing in this movie that is, it does bother me a little bit. It's sort of dates the movie in a similar way that the very opening dates the movie. And this is something we talk about a lot when it comes to like 80s horror movies that are trying to portray some sort of like futuristic, like computer thing.
Oh yeah. This is a classic Carpenter thing. Not even Carpenter thing. This is a really classic 80s.
Yeah.
80s horror thing.
Blair has this fancy computer that he asks, you know, how long will it take for the world to be completely overtaken by this alien should it escape our outpost? And it responds like, I think 27,000 hours or something like that. Yeah. It translates to roughly 3 years or whatever. But like that piece of information that is like so concretely delivered to Blair informs the rest of his decision making for the rest of the movie. And he is the one that like sabotages the radio and the helicopter and kills all the sled dogs, make sure like nobody can leave or contact radio for help. And like I wish that computer was sort of like removed from the equation, and that he sort of like had a leap in logic in and of himself that would like build his character up in a way. Because like he does all this stuff, and on one hand you're sort of like, that's kind of crazy, like they're all gonna die. But on the other hand, you're like, well, I mean, they have to do this, or else the entire world is gonna be overrun by this fucking alien creature. And like that's treated as fact in this movie. I feel like it would make his character more interesting if he sort of came to that conclusion himself in some way.
If I was, I mean, I see your point. Part of me wants to defend that decision. Like, not necessarily. I don't know that the decision itself is bad. I think it's just the retrospect of how computers actually work that really fails to sell it.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, I kind of like that he's in isolation, even within isolation, in knowing this thing, this cataclysmic, world-altering thing, that he's not brave enough to go on a killing spree of his mates, but he is enough he knows that the world is worth killing these fucking dogs, like and destroying these men's chance of escape and letting them kill each other off or something. Like, I don't know. There's something about that. And I don't know that the delivery system of that information is perfect. I think you could script doctor that a little bit and have it be like, even if you did something like not tell the audience that he sees that until he's already been in lockup, and McCready goes, at one point, at a couple points, I think he goes and talks to him again. And he could at that point show McCready a printout that shows the exponential growth, like from the computer. And so it shows, and so McCready has an idea of where he's coming from. But you don't want multiple people to know that, really, because then you've got a rebellion on your hands, and that's a whole different story. Then you lose the one-on-one aspect of things, at least to some extent. I don't know. I part of me wants to defend it, but to me, like, it's only as bad as the lack of understanding of the future, which is something that, who could really predict? So,
it happens.
I agree and disagree. That was another one of like the critiques I wrote in my thing is, I've said many times that kind of stuff does bother me. We see it again, like The Fly, it does shit like that, where it's like the computer's talking to you.
It sounds like having in an older movie, they would have whoever, Goldblum and Blair in their respective movies call somebody on the mainland and have,
or even Blair could talk to himself watching the cells going, oh, they're absorbing.
But is that any less hokey?
Well, okay, so I guess that
it can be.
So the thing is, that aspect like kind of bothers me because it dates it so much. It's like somebody carrying around a BlackBerry phone, but also it's like I don't blame his logic, because I agree, if you are a doctor and you get that kind of information, well, if you share it with anyone, you have no idea who the thing is. And so he's in the process of getting there to where he makes the decision. He's got the gun. He makes the decision. I'm going to take care of all this stuff first, so that no matter how a discussion goes, nobody really has a choice. Now, where I feel like they could have played with that more, or made that, like Bob said, maybe flesh that character out more, and maybe all of the characters, is making that choice. It's almost a self-sacrifice of saying, like, I'm probably not getting out of here, and other people rest it. Like, Blair kind of takes that into his own hands and makes that decision. But if there was a group dynamic where it's like, we can't leave, or we need to do this before it escapes, or whatever, how people react, like going into self-defense mode, like, well, no, like, I'm not being stuck here in Antarctica, or like, no, I'm fine, or whatever, that kind of aspect that could have developed it more. So I can kind of see both ways.
Part of me, though, like, I hear that, and that just feels like a different movie. Like, to me, the core aspect of this movie is distrust in your comrades, and like that is saying something about like fucking the human condition and Cold War politics and all kinds of shit. Like, I don't know that I feel like it has to be isolation with an isolation with an isolation. Everybody is an island in this movie, and they have to only make bridges where they see a potential for a future for themselves. That's it. And I don't want necessarily the movie to become tribalistic, because that makes it a whole different movie that we see in other situations. Also, like, and this is just taking a step back. After I got done speaking earlier, I did realize, to your point, Justin, that like, yeah, Blair could have been talking to himself in the form of making an audio recording, because McCready does the same fucking thing in this movie.
True.
Yeah.
So that would have probably solved the problem, honestly.
Gave it a
But
cool
again,
video
the
game
problem
aspect.
to me, the problem to me is just that, like, it's a non-issue, because it's dealing with the technology of the day and common misconceptions about what that means. You know, people make predictions in movies all the time for the future, and they're wrong. So
Yeah.
what can you do?
Well, that being said, if you guys had the same information that Blair had, would you do the same thing?
Ooh, I don't know, man. Don't put me in moral quandary world.
I mean,
don't
you'd
know.
like to say yes, but
Yeah.
really,
I'd like to say no, but
oh, really?
I would like to think that if you band together with people, that they can overcome this fucking nightmare creature. But the distrust of people would become so great as to be like, I don't know. I feel like I would probably not do it and then regret not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I would initially, like, I would hope I would have like the strength to be like, taking care of the vehicles, like, you know, I'm gonna smash all this shit up, because also to your to Randy's point, I would, I guess if it was me, be under the assumption that we can survive if we figure this out amongst the 12 of us and we eradicate it. We can actually survive here for the winter, or however, we have enough food. We actually don't need a chopper. Another team will eventually come in, or we'll get radio signal, whatever. But to me, it's almost a strength of like, I have to take a leap of faith to say, I might not be getting out of here, but it's world's best chance, and like destroy the vehicle.
Yeah, that's the only sure thing. Sure.
Yeah.
The problem to me is that, like, yeah, I mean, and that the thing is, like, the way Blair approaches it is not how I would, like, surreptitiously, like, destroying the communications equipment is one thing, but then having a shootout with your fucking mates is another.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you're I don't know, man. To me, I would feel like there'd be at least one guy on the platoon that I would go to and be like, we need to fucking have a talk. We need to have it alone. We need to have it completely separate and hole up somewhere and be like, I don't know. I just try and figure it out. At least have a conversation about it with somebody, because maybe that's a reflection of me personally, because I would want to, like, I suss things out by talking, as is evident by the circular talking of this project. But yeah,
you get absorbed so quick.
Probably, but you know, like, honestly, didn't everybody in this fucking movie?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Like, it's not like it worked out better for anyone else.
Replica Randy over here.
Bob,
Can't trust him.
What do you think? You got the cojones to step up?
I would do it, but I would wait. Because like Blair does it almost immediately as soon as he gets the information. I feel like I would wait and like try and build some sort of other plan with people that I had trust in. And if that went south, then I'd pull the ripcord and be like, all right, I can't trust anybody. I'm doing it.
That's the doubt I have in myself too, is like, I don't think I could do it alone. But then that's where you put yourself in the danger, just like Randy said, because if you don't take action, if you don't take any action with like the vehicles or anything, and you take that chance of like, this is the person I trust, or even two people I trust, and their things, the world is gone. The world is gone. Yeah,
that's true. But like, at the same time, okay, think about where Blair was at the beginning of this, and you can correct me, Rob, because I may have the sequence of events wrong here. But by the time Blair sort of starts putting this together, it's pretty safe bet that McCready, Gary, and somebody else, maybe the Dr. Connor, so I don't know, that they were not things, because they were off doing things while the dog was running around. Like, and that's when the infection happens. So I feel like maybe I would be like, okay, these guys are a pretty fucking safe bet. Let me talk to them privately and see what they think about it. But, and here's the other thing that we're not really discussing, or haven't really come up against. Brimley was infected. He was an infected man. And maybe he knew that. The fucking Blair.
Oh, Blair,
was-
yeah.
He was infected, and like maybe he knew that, maybe he didn't. Maybe that factors into his decision. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
So that's
felt
where
like
oh,
he.
go ahead.
I feel like the thing got to him when he was put out in the shed after
That's-
he breaks all the shit.
That's what I assume, and I assume he knows that at one point, because something that's never addressed in the movie or whatever is the noose. And
Right? Yeah.
it's
yeah.
hanging there, and I think, and because there's a switch, he's put in there, he's fucking wild. The next time McCree comes out there, he has food, so he's been visited by somebody. He's eating out of cans or whatever, or I assume that he was visited by somebody.
I think they might have put cans in with it, but yeah,
maybe,
whatever.
but he's out there. There's a noose hanging in the middle of the room that's never talked about or whatever, that's not used. But I assume he was like trying to think of before it took over him. You know, he was like, I'm gonna, try to, because they even say that about the other guy too, the doctor, where he's found torched. They're like, why would he burn him? And they're like, maybe he burned himself.
That's the thing, is like, we don't know.
Right.
And that's honestly one of the brilliant things about this movie, is because it invites that question, and there's no way of knowing. Like, maybe that was why. Maybe Blair like just had, I don't know, fucking a mental break, which we saw in the form of him shooting his comrades, and doesn't really fully believe in his own actions anymore and wants to kill himself anyway. And to me, I never really thought about the thing getting out to him. Like, to me, he was holed up. Like, they made it so that he was holed up. The only person that goes in there that we know of is McCready. And like later on, we find him building a thing underground, but it's not connected anywhere else. Like, to me, he was infected before, and maybe he felt it coming on, maybe he didn't, and maybe that factors into his decision, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. And like, I think it alters the perception of how you would approach it. If you know you're infected, then yeah, I would probably self-immolate if I knew what that really meant and I really understood what that meant. And I would probably allow myself to be taken into custody, so to speak, but I would pass the information along to McCready or one of the people that was not there when all this infection was happening, and let them know, like, look, something's happening to me. Keep an eye on me. Know that I'm telling the truth, and then act on that truth. Find out whatever you can about me, kill me, and allow me to be dead, but don't, for the love of God, like, don't do nothing. Like, and don't allow the infection to continue. I don't know. That's a hard question, Bob, because there's so many unknown factors, really.
I know. Yeah, it's great to ponder. I mean, it's one of the many reasons this movie's so fucking good, man. So something else I think we got to touch on is the cinematography in this movie. So this was photographed by Dean Cundy, same dude who shot Halloween, Jurassic Park, so many others. The way that people move through these like snowscapes, holding these flares, causing these like beautiful like pinks and purples set across this like white backdrop is gorgeous. It's incredibly beautiful to look at this terrifying movie.
Bob, do you know where this was recorded, or filmed rather? Recorded?
I think parts of it was in British Columbia, and then other parts was on a sound stage that they ended up like actually like refrigerating, making it super cold.
Oh, damn, that's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because it is clearly a natural environment. Like, it's not like, at least the exteriors are all natural, it seems like to me. And it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
it truly is. Like, it's tough to find another horror movie just off the top of my head that uses like landscape to such great effect.
And not just landscape. One of the things that I really respect and noticed this time was in the opening, when like the helicopter's flying in, you almost kind of like Randy was talking about with the character, with the silhouette, you get this kind of silhouette or just real quick but solid idea of this location. Or I did this time when I was kind of paying attention, of being like, okay, you see it's limited, but also, they kind of start, then you get a quick inside, you start in the kitchen and you see how it kind of winds around and stuff like that. And so even this location has its own kind of silhouette or interesting, distinct
pod place.
Yeah. In the middle of this white snow.
It's like Sea Lab.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just also one thing that like really stuck out to me this time that I never just even really considered or pondered that I remember is that there's no women. It's all men.
Right. The only
Just the way you
female,
like it.
the only
Well,
female represented
I'd be
in this
stroking.
movie, which Randy, speaking of C-Lab 2021, which it has one of my favorite jokes of all time, the Adrian Barbobot. There is an Adrian Barbobot in this movie.
What?
The chess computer that McCready's playing against is voiced by Adrian Barbeau, who
That's
is John
fucking
Carpenter's
hilarious.
wife.
The
at
cheating
time
bitch.
This movie was made. Yeah. Isn't Adrian
That's-
Barbobot?
That is
I love it.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That John Carpenter would put his wife in and then have the character call her a cheating bitch.
You cheating bitch. That's pretty
got-
funny.
She got drowned in J&B scotch.
Yeah, she
Poor
did.
woman.
I thought that was kind
Well-
of dumb. I mean, I know it's supposed to set up the character of McCree, but like
Yeah.
you're about to start off winter and you're going to blow
Dude,
up
I know.
your computer.
That always bothered me. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's like something me and McCready will never see eye to eye. And I was like, you're gonna like you have like two forms of entertainment. You can
Yeah.
either play with yourself or you can play chess, and you're gonna blow up the chess.
Yeah.
Good luck to your
It
little
is-
pecker, my friend. It's fucked.
Damn.
It is
gonna be
representative
crooked.
of his character. You know, when he's backed into a corner, when he's placed in checkmate, he burns the whole fucking compound down. You know.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
saw that
foreshadowing,
point being
yeah.
made in
True.
like some analysis videos about this movie, and like I had never really thought about that, and I guess that kind of justifies it. It's a character choice, I guess, but
Yeah.
it just always bothered me because I'm like, it's like, you know, you're trapped somewhere for 6 months with just you, a bunch of dudes, and a Game Boy, and somebody shits on the Game Boy. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I wanted to play Game Boy.
Don't shit on my Game Boy.
What about my fucking Tetris, bro? What the fuck?
Let's see what kind of notes do I. Oh, so another fun thing about this movie is I like watched a ton, kind of like Randy with the first. I watched a ton of like breakdowns of like logical, like who done it, and I think one of the it's a negative for me personally. I know it's not really for the film, but for me personally, it didn't seem from a lot of the breakdowns I saw, it didn't seem like that was really a major concern of Carpenter. He was, you know, more going for the general feeling of distress, and it like held up logically, but he wasn't he didn't have like this blueprint that said, okay, Norris was the first one infected because they're here and he's here and because we do get a couple
infection
of
points are very glossed.
yeah, like time jumps and stuff like that. But I did enjoy watching, saying like, okay, from a logic standpoint, if you know, like for instance, I think it said that Palmer went with McCready. I think it was Palmer and Norris went with McCready to the spaceship, maybe.
Palmer didn't. I know that Palmer didn't
Palmer
because I
did-
think
okay,
he was
maybe.
the other. Maybe he's another pilot or something. And I remember somebody talking to him, and he's
I
like, he's talking about
Norris-
McCready taking off. And I was like, "There's a storm," and Palmer's like, he can handle it."
Maybe it was Norris and the doctor.
I think
who
it was.
becomes
Or-
because they were saying, well, okay, then one of these isn't infected, or else they would just gang up on him. You know, they've got him
Yeah.
alone. So at this point in time, logically, this person shouldn't be yet. And then anyways, I just like those kind of breakdowns because I was like, you know, who sabotaged the blood? Like what, you know, like figuring those things out. It's fun because of the mystery aspect, you know, this kind of Sherlock Holmes murder mystery in a monster movie and an alien movie, like we were talking before, is unique. Like having those different elements of, you kind of got not quite a bottle, but this isolated, you know, setting. It is unique because it's Antarctica. So like we said, it feels like a foreign planet, but also in some ways it's like kind of like the logic still apply. Like you need a coat and shit. and then you have this like the gore, the monster coming in, but then it's also like science fiction based because there's like a scientific way to figure it out and to beat it, but then you also have this like murder mystery, who done it. So there's like so many cool elements that usually are on their own and people build around those elements alone, but they're coming together here and they all work so well. It's managed like very well, I think.
I totally agree. And like the thing about it is that there's this whole situation that's like, you feel like as you're watching this as a character, as you're empathizing with each character, you feel like you should be able to figure it out. You feel like, okay, all the clues are here for me. I just got to see them. I've just got to see these clues. But that's not the case. And the reason that's not the case is because that's not the case for any one of these people. They can't be in every room, even if they show us different cuts from different rooms. That's just what we see. Like, even as an audience, we're not given given the luxury of omnipotence. We don't have it. And I don't know, like, to me, in a movie that's about distrust, that's about sussing out the baddies in the situation, only adds to the immersion. Like, it only makes you feel more and more not at ease with anybody. And that's the whole point. Like, is this feeling of who do you trust when you know that there's a Contra in the mix? And like, again, like, it's a Cold War thing. Like, this was like a time where like the KGB and all that shit, the spies were like rampant and heavily discussed in popular media, to a point, to a fault even. Like, this is like, it speaks to, like, again, like the human condition, and like, who do you trust? Who do you, like, even people, if somebody can perfectly imitate somebody that you trust perfectly, like, how would you know? How do you find out? And the way they do it is through a scientific method, but that's hard earned. That takes several deaths before MacReady can suss out that, okay, so the blood might react this way, and he could have been wrong. Like, what if the blood is too small of an element? What if, like, that thing jumps out? What if that never happened? What if I don't know. What if?
I will say, after the blood test, which is like such an iconic scene in this movie, it's played so wonderfully. After that, you've sort of like you've got a fresh baseline. Like, you know who is and is not a thing for fact. At that point, I would be like, nobody is leaving anybody's sight. We are staying together all the time. So when they leave Childs to man the base to go give Blair the test, I'm like pulling my hair out. I'm like, why are you doing this? This is the worst mistake possible.
Then they all split up again.
Yeah, well, at that point, it doesn't even really fucking matter, I think. But like, once you said that,
does, because they get killed if they had stuck together.
Well, when I say that, I mean because I think Childs is definitely assimilated at that point, and Blair already is. So they're like fucked from both ends, basically.
Oh yeah. But I mean, even when they're like, "All right, you go put the dynamite over here," it's like, how about we all go put the dynamite over here, and then we all go put the dynamite over here.
It's a classic mistake, man.
Go put the dynamite over here.
They're doing the Clue method, where you split up into twos, and then whoever's with the killer gets killed, and then you know who the murderer is.
Why does Childs even need to watch the base? It's like torched at this point. Or, I mean, not exactly, but I mean, it's just like, hey, well, there's only 4 left. Let's just go
together.
The base is in disarray, but it is very salvageable and very self-sustained. It's not like it's actively on fire, I don't think, at that point. Like,
no,
maybe one room, I guess, because they torched that one pretty good when they were doing the blood test.
But they also have somebody come in with an extinguisher immediately.
Maybe,
because MacReady makes them wait for it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree, and like that's like, that might be the biggest fault in logic in this movie.
Probably so, but it does progress the plot in a way that leads to interesting, crazy shit that happens, and an ending that, like, let's go ahead and talk about the ending real quick before we land the plane here.
Yeah.
Do you guys like the ending? And also, do you think either or both or neither Childs or MacReady are assimilated at the end? Randy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love the ending. I love this movie. So yeah, I love the ending. I think that I love the downer of this movie. Like, to me, that, like, really focusing on like how and even with McCready as like as a destructive character, like somebody who reacts to things with a destructive bent, like a leap before you look sort of thing. Like all that, I think, speaks to human condition shit that we deal with on every single level of society. And I don't see it as a trap that is very easy to get out of. Cooperation, smart, intelligent cooperation, even that can be undermined. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important thing to like. It's important to show that like to be a hero, McCready murders a man. Like to be, even the heroes are murdering people in pursuit of saving themselves and saving other people. And is it the right thing to do? We don't fucking know. But he gives them the best chance of survival by doing some of that shit. Not all, but some of it. And, you know, I don't know. It doesn't, to me, paint anybody as a hero. It paints everybody as kind of similar to The Thing, where they're all not like parts of a whole, the whole being the community that they're in, and them being the individual pieces that need to protect themselves. Like they're part of a communal body, the same way The Thing is, but that communal body is a community, not necessarily a physical form. So I think that it fucking works on that level. And as far as being, whether, you know, Childs or McCready are a thing, I honestly, I don't really think it matters. I think the question matters, but I don't think it matters. I think that like, if you want to get down to yes or no answer, I think that Childs probably is, because he's off camera enough to like, and I think we're supposed to suspect him because of that. I think that like we're at that point, we're primed to suspect anybody, and he's been off camera long enough to where it's pretty easy to suspect him. And I don't know. So in a pinch, I'd say, yeah, Childs is probably, McCready's not. McCready's also the focal point of this movie. So it's easy for him to be painted as the unerring, although not, hero. I don't know. So yeah, I love the ending. I really think that it speaks to like what, like the really brutal nature of, you know, of how people react in a corner, I guess. And, you know, when the chips are down, what does it mean to be the guy with the gun against the three guys who may or may not want to hurt you? I don't know.
All right.
That's me.
Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that same kind of sentiment. People don't want to, it's this movie, like we said, it puts you in a great place of empathy where you feel like that extra member, even till the end, where almost everyone's dead, where you should be almost 100% certain of who is and who isn't, and you're not. And this has driven so many people crazy that you have so many videos on the internet of like, well, watch this. What if he did this? And that the truth
Angry
is
videos,
like,
some of them.
I don't think that, you know, Carpenter knows, like, you know, there is no yes or no, probably, like, but it is that thing of two, you're the last man standing facing the other last man standing, and you still don't know. But it also too kind of doesn't matter, because like Randy said, it's a thing where like they can't survive now. I mean, pretty much like 99% sure, unless just a helicopter for some reason shows up tomorrow. So then it becomes a question, okay, you're in the McCready position almost. It's the guy you follow. And it's like, okay, well, you assume you're going to die anyways. You've seen that the thing, if it's alive, can chill in the ice for thousands of years. Do you take the moral quandary of, do I just murder this man in the just,
yeah, actually,
you know,
and he's done it.
Yeah.
He's already answered that question, and yet he doesn't do it here. I wonder why. Maybe that's an indicator, like maybe that's supposed to point to him being the thing. And I don't know. Like, I don't think anything's supposed to be true.
Yeah, I agree.
At least from a directorial standpoint.
I would say like, yeah, like agree to probably. And like one thing we didn't talk about too, technically maybe McCready could become, because it shows that there's different forms of assimilation. There's the obviously like I spray you with shit and absorb you. But then I think in the case of Blair, why they talk about like, hey, we need to start eating out of cans and preparing our food, is it seems like it can like slowly with where we see the cells take
Yeah.
over your body
It
over
just
a
has to make
longer
contact,
period of
really.
time. Yeah. So even that we see constantly McCready drinking out of other people's bottles. He even does it with Blair. Before he leaves Blair in the shack, he takes a drink of his vodka. And so it's like, maybe he's not now, but he like potentially could be tomorrow or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. But Bob, I don't know. What do you think?
There's no reason not to kill each other at that point. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah,
they're dead either way. I dig the ending in this movie. Like the theme for this movie is paranoia. It's paranoia the movie. So like, why not end on an extremely like consistent note? Like nobody trusts anybody, and that's how the movie ends. And it leaves you feeling like very uncomfortable and questioning yourself, questioning these characters. And I think it's just a very strong way to end the movie. Like, instead of like, okay, one person was definitely fine and they got out and survived, and everybody else was assimilated and are dead.
Or even if they do the fake out and then
and
then all of a sudden
turns out
McCready turns around and his eyes glow like the fucking Thriller video.
That would be even worse somehow.
Yeah.
I like that they leave it open-ended and that we can have a discussion about it. I think the moment they leave Childs alone, I mean, I kind of write it off as like, yeah, absolutely, he's the thing for sure.
You have to assume it.
You do. You have to. McCready, I don't think is at the end of the movie. Maybe, like Juice, like you said, maybe he becomes assimilated later on. Also, like I was reading an article like Dean Cundy was interviewed about the ending of this movie, the cinematographer, and like he was saying the way he lit the scene was that Childs didn't have a catch light in his eyes, to whereas like McCready did, to give him a sort of like alive versus dead kind of look in their eyes, to nod that McCready is a human still and Childs has been assimilated. Who knows if like that is what Carpenter intended, but that's what the cinematographer did. I thought that was like kind of a cool little very very small tell, but honestly, read into that what you will.
The question still remains, and that's what's important. And like
sure.
I feel like the whole thing is, I don't know. I look at that situation and I wonder, okay, McCready, you have killed people for less at this point. Why not? You have to assume this thing can live in ice. You have to assume that you're gonna die. Why not kill this other person at that point? But he doesn't. He suddenly has a burst of faith.
Yeah.
So why? Maybe he is a thing, and maybe
he could be.
He's waiting to repair himself to attack. You could make the argument really either direction or both or neither.
And that's the thing. We don't even know if the things know the other things.
I guess not. No.
Yeah, I guess not. I assume that if there was multiple, that they would somehow communicate. But I guess you don't know.
I thought so too, but I guess that's a total assumption.
You don't because he questions them like, oh, are you a thing? But if it was a thing, wouldn't it just be like, oh, I know we're the only two left. Time to get you, Miguel.
So eat. Yeah. And then try to survive without somebody pointing a gun at you.
Yeah.
Spray his ass with acid or whatever.
Yeah, because then you got your shit all over him. Like, even if he torches that end, you're going to infect his body anyways.
I feel like if one of either of them was a thing, they could have easily attacked, and that neither did, to me, and that neither are like blah, 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 and suddenly like morphing together.
Yeah,
speaks to the idea that they're probably neither. But I mean, again, like, it really doesn't matter because the question.
I don't think there's an answer.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and land this plane. Let's rate the thing out of 5. Randy, please kick us off. How do you feel?
Short and sweet. This is a 5-star movie to me. Like, it offers everything I look for in a horror movie. It's beautiful to look at. It's got impeccable acting and character work. It's got fucking truly impeccable and groundbreaking special effects that hold up perfectly even 40 years later. It just looks beautiful. The soundtrack is fucking amazing for its setting. It serves its purpose. And probably, like, for me, one of the most important things is that it gives you a lot to chew on. And I mean, what else am I going to ask this movie? Am I going to pick it apart for not having a perfect understanding of the future of computing? No, I'm not going to do that. Am I going to pick it apart for, like, probably the worst offense this movie makes is what Rob pointed out, which is that leap of logic that you should split up at all at a certain point in this movie. And, honestly, I can write that off in the face of all of the fucking amazing shit that's going on in the rest of this movie. It really doesn't hinder anything else about this movie. And if I really want to justify it, I could say something like, oh, well, some of these guys are military men. This is just how they operate, or like, this is how groupthink works, or whatever. Maybe the guy who suggested that was a thing, and these guys just, I don't know, maybe you could write it off, but I'm writing it off with the full knowledge that it doesn't make sense. But it really doesn't matter. The movie plays out exactly the way the concept would have it play out, and I don't have any regrets about that. I don't have anything else to really say. So 5 stars.
All right, 5 stars from Randu. Juice, how do you feel?
I'm going to rectify this because when I originally scored it, I did not give it a 5. But of course, this has so much to chew on, and it has so much value, like valuable things to chew on. I had such a blast watching it again with a very close eye, and then watching things of like breaking it down and stuff like that. I would like pause it and be like when they were like, oh, the blood, I was like, who's done a breakdown of the blood? All right, I want to see what they're, because I know the story, so I'm not like ruining it for myself, but I wanted to kind of follow along with these like leaps of logic and stuff and see if I could like spot it. It's just fun. It's like a game. The ability for this movie this is one of the most successful horror films to kind of capture the idea of horror films, is to put you in it like a roller coaster, to give you that thrill, to give you that full sense of like complete empathy. I know what these characters are going through. I almost feel as if I'm in there and I have to make the choice. How do I stay safe? It does that so well, on top of the distinct characters, the distinct setting, the like nuts practical effects. Like every single time, it's just like looks fantastic. Even times where we talk about not even showing you everything and leaving things to your imagination, they do that great too when they go to the Norwegian base and they pick up the fucked up two-faced thing and the autopsy scenes where you just get distorted things. You're like, what is this? It just makes your imagination go crazy. They do that so well. Even looking back, it's fun. It's got so much rewatchability. This time, like, Norris is with them when they go to the Norwegian thing, and he says like, we can't learn anything from this, when he's talking about the things, and he's probably an alien. He like could have been that first one where the dog walks in and like assimilates or whatever. And that's like, oh shit, Norris. Oh, he's going to be an alien. He's trying to sway them already or whatever. It's just so fun. It's so engrossing and amazing. And there's like nitpicky things. I also, the very last thing where the dog pops out and McCready's fighting it, throws the dynamite at it, looked the worst to me. It almost was like too in your face lit at that point, I guess. I don't know. For some about that one where the dog pops out, looked the worst to me. But the opening scene, the computer kind of logic, and then the logic of like, let's all split up, are kind of nitpicky things. But the rest of the movie has such high highs and so much value in like rewatchability and just setup, and so many things that I'm gonna give it a 5 this time. Woo, thank God I cleared that off my record. I was that guy. Bob, what are you gonna give The Thing?
The Thing is a 5-star film. This is not a surprise to anybody at all, I'm sure. Directed by John Carpenter, cinematography by Dean Cundy. The score was by Ennio Morricone, Rob Bottin on the practical effects, some of the best creature effects ever created, ever. Even 40 years later, still holds up. The movie's beautiful. All the performances are just like so easy to identify with, even for the characters that died relatively early. Like, you spend limited time with them, but they still feel real and grounded. Kurt Russell does a great job as a leading man, pulling you through this movie. The overall like feeling of paranoia and distrust is like, it's so palpable, and like we already mentioned, it's so easy to put yourself in the place of one of these characters and like try to figure out what you might do. And it's a lot of fun to engage in a movie on that level. And also like this sort of vagueness of this paranoia opens the movie up for like limitless interpretations. Like, you know, I'm sure that maybe Carpenter had one thing on his mind when he made this in the 80s. The short story was written in the 30s. I'm sure they had something on their mind. The 50s, the original thing from Another Planet came out. I'm sure it meant something different then. And like you watch it in 2022, like it means something new. Like you can, it's evergreen, this movie. And I think that definitely adds to the testament of this being a true classic. It's never going out of style. This movie fucking rules. It's banging on all cylinders. It's a 5-star from the Straight Chilling crew. Glad we set the record straight, Juice. It's about time. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment. See what the critics and users think about The Thing.
All right, everybody. This is the Rotten Tomatoes segment, and how this segment usually works is that I'm going to have these two gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate scores are for on RottenTomatoes.com for both critics and users. We're going to start with the critics, as we usually do. I'm going to start with Bob here. Bob, out of 0 to 100%, what do you think the aggregate score is from critics? There are, by the way, 74 reviews counted from critics.
74, that's lower than I would have thought. I still, man, since this movie was like just kind of torn up back in the day, but everybody like kind of acclaims it so highly now. I'm gonna lean high, but not like too high, maybe with like a 75.
75, okay. Soju, what about you?
Rob, I think you made my job easier, hopefully, because I'm going to take the high end on this one, but I'll play it safe, and I'll say 80.
80. All right.
It's going to be in the 90s, though.
Soju is going to take this.
I was going to say 96.
He's going to be very close. It's an 82.
Oh, shit. Okay.
82.
Damn. Ooh, I'm glad I didn't take that. I'm glad I didn't get cocky. Woo.
The year it came out.
Don't get cocky.
Bob has been whooping my tail lately. He has been on a freaking hot streak.
Something in the tear. If you had gone to like, I thought you might go to a 90, and I was like,
I was thinking about it. I know.
All right. Now let's go to our audience score. There are significantly more, 100,000 plus ratings in the critics or the user section. Soju, we'll start with you this time. What's your choice?
All right, 82. That's a bit surprising, so I'll temper it down a scotch. I'll say 85.
85. Bob, yourself?
I think it's higher. I think the audience is definitely gonna overall rate this higher. I'll $1 Juice with an 86.
Project.
Ooh. The Project. Yep. All right, Bob, you are gonna take it. It is 92%.
Boom.
92. So there you go. The critics' consensus reads as follows: grimmer and more terrifying than the 1950s take, John Carpenter's The Thing is a tense sci-fi thriller rife with compelling tension and some remarkable makeup effects. I think that's all fairly reasonably true, but there are some people who disagree.
Ooh, give me that negative rant.
So yeah, what normally happens is I read a random negative review because they occasionally have some humorous lines that, you know, make us laugh. However, this is going to be a slightly different episode because all of the negative reviews I have pre-screened, and they all just make me fucking furious. These people fucking suck.
Good, give us one.
All right,
and rant.
I'm gonna give you a couple.
Okay.
Just let you guys live in the stewed shit that these people lay out for you. Here we go. Such a pity. John Carpenter is too gifted a movie maker to let nauseating special effects take over his biggest film, but that's what happened in The Thing.
Dude, the special effects are what make this like Rob said, almost a timeless classic. I watch this shit today and I'm like, dear God, that is some of the most horrific, imaginative shit I've ever seen.
Dude,
40
Yeah,
years
well,
later, I watch horror movies minimum one a week, normally more. And
some people disagree with that. This version is so full of the thing that it strangles our imagination and becomes a mere exercise in ugly mechanical horrifics. Very dumb, very disappointing.
Strangles the imagination?
yeah, it can
No.
be anything. It can be anything. The imagination is limitless.
How dare you strangle my imagination with the body horror shit?
Hey, you know this crazy thing? It can be anything. That's too limited.
You told me too much.
Well, how about this? You've heard those two. How about this? The Thing is like The Howling, a showcase for fiber and latex and the products they produce by and for people who need their nightmares to be completely comprehensible and completely unreal. Comprehensible? What the fuck movie are you watching with this shit? Yes,
the old
The
Howling,
Thing, famously a comprehensible and easy to parse movie villain.
Yeah.
There's more. Oh God, there's more. Let's see.
Oh God.
How about this? And by the way, I want to point out that none of these reviews are any earlier than 2000. These are not old reviews.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Carpenter's direction is slow, dark, and stately. He seems to be aiming for an enveloping, novelistic kind of effect, but all he gets is heaviness. Bullshit.
I don't know that. Heaviness? Just
What?
heaviness?
Oh man. Here's a good one. What were you gonna say, Bob?
I would say I don't know what the fuck that means exactly.
Yeah,
but
what is
please,
that?
Please continue.
It's just so heavy. It's too heavy. Where's the jokes? Why doesn't Rocket Raccoon come out and make a pithy one-liner about shooting people? Where is Rocket Raccoon? Here's one. Russell's sub-Eastwood heroics hardly compensate for the absence of all characterization, while Bill Lancaster's script boasts the most illogical climax any monster movie ever had. The most illogical climax is that they fight to the death and then die. That's the illogical monster movie. What?
1 star. Too
Solid.
much CG.
No, none of these are like.
Too
I don't
much
think any of them
CG.
are less than like
Who
half.
did these computer effects? They look so
They
bad.
suck.
Here's one from 2004 from one Roger Ebert. Because this material has been done before and better, especially in the original The Thing and Alien, there's no need to see this version. Why ever see a movie with similar themes as another movie? What a waste. I've already seen Ben-Hur, thank you. You can keep your Lord of the Rings.
These graphics look like such 1980s computer graphics.
You know, I've seen movies with monsters before. I just don't want to see anymore. So I'm just sticking with the ones that we
It can
have.
be anything.
That's too
my
limiting.
God.
Far too limiting.
It's like jumping blood. It's a spider head. I will say,
I get the impression that a lot of these negatives are by people who just really love the original, and it's just like a blood feud situation where their original doesn't get the love that they want it to have. Maybe
yeah.
it's a butthurt.
there was
critic situation.
one scene. So Norris is an alien, and he's revealed pretty soon after he has everyone tied up and is guarding them. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Also, too, the Thing has heart problems, but it can live in ice.
Oh no. No, I think the guy was
Forever?
becoming a thing underneath the surface, and that was like
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I understood it to be.
That makes sense.
I want to read one more because it's
I
short,
see.
sweet, short and the opposite of sweet. I never got into this. Very slow, dated special effects and obvious exploration of the paranoia theme. This was written in 2003. Tell me about dated effects, Mr. 2003.
He was bumping that.
Why don't you watch an Underworld movie, you fucking hack?
Whoa. Let's not bring Underworld into this.
Why don't you watch Doom?
Yeah, there you go. Which we will be watching.
We will.
soon,
We
and
will be very soon.
That's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, I just
can't
wanted
wait
to.
to watch Doom. Is that next week?
I've never seen
It
it. And I
is.
am not
Nice.
excited.
Oh my god. I think it's on
Oh.
HBO Max or something.
Maybe it's
we'll
great.
get-
I'm gonna go in
we'll-
optimistic.
Well, good for you, Randy. We'll get there though.
Optimistic.
I think we got some trivia to get into. Let's do it.
It's totally time for trivia.
So I took a quick look and there didn't seem to be a whole lot on the old thing. So I think we can just skip over trivia.
Laugh out loud.
All right. Bob actually did the heavy lifting because he knew I would not. And he looked at like 300 pieces of trivia and picked the best ones. A tradition in British Antarctic Research Station, or it is a tradition to in British Antarctic Research Station to watch the thing 1982 as part of their midwinter feast and celebration held every June 21st. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
For living in Antarctica, that sounds awesome. We should celebrate with them. So June 21st, we should all watch the thing again.
The Thing Day.
Yeah, the thing. Maybe they'll listen to our podcast this year. They'll say like, "Oh, who's covered the thing?" Straight chilling. Carpenter was particularly upset when I guess the original director Christian Nyby, Nyby.
What?
Sounds good.
Is that the? Oh, okay. I didn't know if y'all knew.
I'm not sure.
Okay. The director of the original The Thing from Another World, 1951, publicly denounced Carpenter's version, saying, "If you want blood, go to the slaughterhouse." All in all, it's a terrific commercial for J&B Scotch. Damn.
Stick burn.
That last bit
Yeah,
is pretty funny.
I
give him credit for that one. I disagree, but man, that's funny. Because they really do show that fucking label a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I am terrible at pronouncing people's names. This is pretty funny though. Unused music composed for this film was later used by Ennio Morricone. Thank you, Bob. In Quentin Tarantino. No, I'm just fucking Quentin Tarantino's Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, 2015. Ironically, the Thing score was nominated for a Razzie for worst score, while his score for The Hateful Eight won an Oscar.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Wow, Razzies famously getting it right, just like the Oscars.
Who watches the Razzies?
Is there a watchable Razzies? I think they just announced like, here's what we didn't like.
I don't know. In the DVD commentary, John Carpenter said that Wilford Brimley was the only cast member not made squeamish by the autopsy scene where real animal organs were used. That autopsy scene, like anytime there was like gooiness involved, looked so fucked. Like
I didn't know they use real organs. That's fucked up.
Many times in my notes, I just say this scene is fucked.
Yep.
The autopsy is one of them. In 1982, before its release, Fangoria, which we were just featured on, Fangoria magazine had a contest. People were asked to draw the thing to see if anyone could guess what it was going to look like. What? How would they know? The winner won a trip to Universal Studios. Who won? It doesn't look like anything.
How many dicks did they get? Is my question.
All from
Rob
Blur.
only included that so he could make that joke.
Not true. I thought that was really neat, actually. But also dicks.
So this is interesting. Kind of fucks me up. Part of the fear underlying the story was the rising fear of AIDS when then making itself known. The idea that you couldn't tell who was infected just by looking at them, only blood tests could reveal it, was not lost on the writers. Cleverly, on the wall of the outpost rec room where the infamous blood test scene occurred, infamous blood test scene occurs, hangs a World War II poster warning of the dangers of STDs, showing a cartoon of a promiscuous woman holding a tag marked "I have VD." The poster bears the title "They Aren't Labeled, Chum." We need that.
They aren't labeled, chum. I love that. Say, chum, you're sorry, Charlie. They ain't labeled.
They aren't labeled, chum. Sounds like a great piece of merch for us. Encapsulating the idea of the plot that dangers can be as destructive as they are hidden. Okay. The tentacles that Clark sees in the dog cage are whips being maneuvered by Rob Bottin. The final confrontation with the thing required the assistance of 50 technicians. Damn. Do you want me to go through all of it, Bob? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more pieces.
Yeah, we got time.
Okay. Rob said yes. I dug for this shit. When the film first aired on the U.S. network television, Universal executive Sin Sheinberg provided a completely different cut of the movie, which included early scenes introducing each character. Naturally, this version was disowned by Carpenter, but can be seen on the 2016 Scream Factory Blu-ray release.
Right there.
If only we knew who had that.
Easy to come by.
$50.
Easy for deep pockets, Bob. As the film moved into post-production, Rob Bottin found himself virtually living at the studio. He was forced to break from this when he was diagnosed with exhaustion, and admitted to a hospital. When you're diagnosed with exhaustion, you're tired.
Yeah.
So
I think that we got that much. Yeah.
Toby Hooper was originally slated to direct and co-write the film before Carpenter was attached. Interesting. Hooper's version would have been drastically different from Carpenter's version, featuring an alien that did not shape-shift or assimilate, and following the Ahab-like character named the Captain, who goes on an epic quest to find and kill the thing. Oh, okay. Did I miss? I guess they're talking about McCready.
Yeah.
And following an Ahab-like character named the Captain. Okay, I see.
It was going to be very much a horror comedy, very goofy, slapsticky kind of thing.
Dude, Toby, no.
I can understand that. I mean, you're making think about like The Blob or whatever. Like that's borders on horror comedy. Like,
thank God that didn't happen though.
True. Yeah, no, I agree. But I'm just saying, like, it's not it wouldn't have been the worst decision in the absence of knowing this was a classic in the making.
One of the executive producers that was on the project said that they avoided making one of the worst movies ever by firing Toby Hooper. To be clear.
Oh shit.
I kind of agree with that. One of the few Universal films which does not open with the Universal logo. The others include The Blues Brothers and Steven Spielberg's 1941. Famed film critics famed film critics Siskel and how's that? Oh god damn it. Siskel
Ebert.
And Ebert. No, how is the first one pronounced? Siskel,
yeah.
Siskel.
Yeah.
Split on this movie. Ebert called it a barf bag movie and said it was inferior to other earlier genre entries like Alien. Okay. While Siskel praised the atmosphere of fear and paranoia the film effectively generates, and said that what makes the movie work, not the gruesome special effects. What? It was rare for Siskel to praise an intense thriller like this and for Ebert to slam it. Usually it was the other way around, like me and old Bob, huh Bob?
What? Trading places.
Like me and you. At around 58 minutes, a popular fan theory is that Palmer was actually the one that destroyed the frozen blood. While everyone is arguing with each other over the destruction of the blood, he never takes his headphones off to hear the conversation. Interesting. I guess this is why I was confused. One of the breakdowns that I was watching was talking about that said that from a logical standpoint, it seemed like Norris was the first one infected, and then Palmer, and then Bennings, and then the doctor.
Dude, somewhere there.
But if Norris, they postured this. I think that's why I got confused. That he actually wasn't becoming the thing. That the thing still takes on whatever qualities of the host. So Norris probably had heart problems.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I always took it to be like he was
But
being eaten from the
yeah,
so to speak, and he was like off.
Yeah.
He was not doing well before that. You'll notice.
yeah.
He had like some he was clearly like going through some shit.
And again, it could just be that there's no blueprint, and it really is just about the atmosphere.
I'm sitting here distracted by all these negative reviewers. I'm looking through their other reviews. Some of these motherfuckers gave 4 out of 4 to Babe from 1995,
Dude,
but
Babe's
1 out of 4.
Babe's
But
solid.
4 out of 4 versus when you give the thing a 1, you
well,
they gave
that means
Bugs
that they
Life
just
4 out
love,
of 4.
Dude, if
they
they
gave
review
Soul Food from 1997, 3
they
out
love
of 4.
feel good shit. The thing is not feel good.
Tarzan, 4
It's
out
feel
of 4.
bad.
It's feel good.
Sergeant Bilko, 3 out of 4.
Right? It's going through people's history.
I'm
What?
going through the history, baby. Conan the Barbarian. Come on. Come on.
Juice.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for hitting up the trivia.
Thank you for hunting it all down, Bob.
You know what else we gotta hunt?
Fiscal. Yeah.
Our cooter of the week.
Ooh.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why are we hunting them?
Thank you for asking, Blurb. Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered cooter. We want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, we got a lot of people to choose from this week. Is anyone a cooter?
But I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't see the only thing that I can put up on the chopping block that I can think of. I don't know if Bob feels differently, but is the thing itself, and I don't think it really qualifies.
Yeah, because it
really
has to manipulate to survive.
It's manipulation as like the key thing in this movie, but you can also give maybe look and attire because it's a blood monster. It's a monster made of blood and bone and squirts goo at people.
Ugh, dude, oh my god, there's so many fucked up.
There's
images.
no sexual deviancy in this movie, though. There's no,
because there's no women, right, boys?
There's a little bit of arrogance from some of the people, but that's about it. I mean, we don't. Justin, please. Some of these dudes are fucking. But we don't see it. It's off camera and so on. Look and attire. I mean, like a little bit patheticness. Not really. It's just very like biological.
Yeah, let's see. Are there any like pathetic character? Windows is kind of painted as the most kind of pathetic, I guess, but he's not. Yeah, he's sympathetic. He's
just panicked, like in a very reasonable sense.
Yeah, everybody's kind of treated with respect and has good logic and doing their best, kind of.
Yeah, I would say that Childs is maybe a little arrogant, and McCready certainly is a little arrogant.
Yeah,
otherwise,
but they play each other straight for the most part. Yeah, unless they're a thing.
I feel like it's the thing or nothing.
Yeah,
I agree, and I really kind of feel like it's nothing. I just don't think this is a cootery movie. This movie is it's risen above the need for a cooter.
Yeah,
I think so. I think it's
not tainted by the cooter.
We're all very proud.
It doesn't need one.
It doesn't need one. I think a cooter free it's the way to be.
There we go.
I agree.
Whoa, we got rhymes up in this.
This house is clean.
We're rhyming. Well, gentlemen, let's let our hair down. Let's relax. We're kicking back with the social hour. We're talking about what we've been watching this past week or 2 or 3.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Nobody actually has long enough hair to let it down.
Yeah,
we all need some man buns up in here.
We
We need those
some 80s hair metal wig.
We need to get
Yeah, I
those
can let that
clip-on
down.
man buns one episode.
No.
We need to
On
spend
man
some
buns. Is that a thing?
We need to. Oh yeah, we need to get some Patreon funds to fund some
For all the
clip-on
fun of the man
buns,
bun without the
No.
commitment.
so we can
No,
shake it
no.
out for a watch.
No.
Y'all never
Put
seen
it
those
on our wish
clip-on
list.
man buns, dude?
No. Where's
what?
Dude, I need to
You,
get one
you
of
say
the-
that like it's a very common thing.
I need
that
to get one
everyone
of
knows
those
about.
just
I don't think that's accurate.
with the
Please do.
with
No,
the shaved
please
back
do.
of my head.
You get it the wrong color. It's like
yeah.
orange, you
It's
know?
red.
Please wear it in public, though. Oh my
Dude, oh
god.
my god.
Randy, why don't you kick us off? What you been watching, man?
Shit, dude. Well, I was gonna talk about like the 9 Christmas movies that I watched, but it's past Christmas and everything else. So instead, I'm gonna tell you about my week. I went on a long journey down south of Florida to visit family, do some stuff like that, holiday stuff, some post-wedding stuff. A lot of it got completely fucked over from COVID. So, but a lot of it was fun and we did what we could. And we drove back up a couple days ago. And I don't know if anybody's heard about this, but there was a little bit of a kerfuffle on I-95 that has apparently been national news now. That we got caught in. We got caught in a pretty good blizzard. I don't know. We knew that there was going to be some blockage on 95. We knew there was going to be some snow. I don't think we really understood. I don't think anybody clearly understood just how bad the roads would be and how long it would take for that shit to be fixed. It took 2 fucking days for them to fix 95 and get people evacuated from it.
Damn.
People lost, like, they burned through their gas trying to keep warm in sub 20-degree weather.
Oof.
In a fucking 14-inch of snow, ice on the road situation. People were like keeling over. People were lacking insulin. There was a lot. It was a fucking true to God emergency. And Becky and I just managed to dodge being caught on the highway for that. We instead were directed off the road to another slightly less blocked route, which, as it turns out, was through the rural backwoods of Virginia, which in a fucking Prius, in a fucking blizzard, is a problem. I will say this, like, we saw some beautiful shit before, but after the blizzard, but before nightfall was one of the most magical fucking winter wonderlands you could imagine. It was still scary because we were driving on goddamn packed ice fucking shit. And like, I'm talking barely 1-lane road that had just barely been plowed. And for such things. Oh,
you cut out, Randy.
better?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
better.
The Prius is just not built for this. It's just really not. And so we are losing gas at this point. We have about a quarter of a tank of gas. We're driving through backwoods Virginia and finding that after night fell, every small town that we come across has no power. No power anywhere. We're trying to get back, we're trying to avoid and also get back to 95 because it's both civilization and we know it's a nightmare at this point. And so we're kind of like hovering near it, and so is everyone else. And people are skidding. We saw 100 cars disabled on the side of the road, easy.
Damn.
And again, Prius. So we're getting fucking scared. I have
you
never
need a
driven
Hummer, Randy.
I've never driven in snow or on ice before this weekend, and Becky, they were too scared to do it at this point. And they're the only ones between the two of us that has ever driven on snow. And it scared them so bad that they didn't want to do it anymore. So I'm driving this fucking thing. And we're like, okay, let's fucking fuck it. It's too dangerous. Let's find a hotel. All the hotels have no power or no rooms or both. And they are impossible to get into because there are very few of them have plowed fucking parking lots. So my ass we end up like just barely getting into a parking lot of a Clarion Inn that is completely dark. and they're letting people use the bathroom, and that's it, and like get water. And they did hook us up with a blanket, and God bless them.
Dude, shouts
God
out to
bless
the Clarion.
Shouts out to the
Shouts
Clarion.
out. The fucking Clarion comes in
Comes
clutch.
Comes
Through.
through.
I
We're
love
parked right by the overhang, and we like it is just a shit show. We don't have service. We have barely service. I barely have service. We have like the most intermittent internet possible. So we don't even have updates. We're waiting on 95 to open up because we think it's got to be soon. It's been blocked for 14 hours at this point. No, man, it's not. And it takes fucking all night. And finally we hit daybreak and we're like, okay, well, we have a quarter tank of gas. And we end up making a break for it and going to a Wawa, and ding, and no fucking gas. The computers are down.
Oh my God.
It is almost impossible to get in or out of this fucking place in a goddamn Prius. Everybody else who's driving is in a fucking giant ass truck, a Virginia style truck. And we're sitting there in our fucking Prius. And fortunately, we were sitting there for a couple hours trying to figure out what to do, trying to call hotels that are open. All of them are booked within a fucking 30-mile radius. So we're like, we have 70 gallons or 70 miles worth of gas, according to the odometer, and 64 miles to go. And 95 is still blocked. We have to take the back roads. We have to travel through ice. We're about to go. We just managed to catch out of the corner of our eye that the computers come back up. We get gas.
Wow.
Gas up. The fucking store is closed, by the way, because of the gas situation. They wouldn't even let people buy fucking provisions, which was insane. We're seeing people walking down the road with gas cans from 95, which is like 5 miles from there.
Oh
easy.
my God.
And so we're like, okay, we got the gas. Let's get the fuck out of here. It took another fucking 4 hours to get home. We're driving down back roads. One of them gets blocked and we get sent by what I recognize as, after the fact, not a policeman and not a Department of Transportation personality, but a truck driver who jackknifed his truck on the road.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, we don't know what's going to happen now. And we end up like, fortunately, we get stalled a little bit. We have to drive up an icy fucking hill, which almost careens us off a goddamn cliff. And then we fucking get on a relatively plowed and safe road and we get home. And man, I didn't sleep for like 36 hours, pretty much. I was freezing. We didn't have enough blankets. We had a dog with us. It was a fucking nightmare. So that's what I've been watching. It was fucking terrible. I don't recommend. 1 star.
Randy, for the next year, don't leave your house.
Dude, trust me, that car got all the ice it can take. It's still snowy as shit here, and we're not taking that shit out for a fucking decade.
Oof.
Never leave your house. Damn. Well, we're glad that you're okay. That's fucking crazy.
I'm gonna dine out on that story as soon as possible, by foot, of course.
Juice, how are you living? What's going on?
Much better than that, generally. So let's see. We had New Year's and they dropped a Harry Potter like reunion, 20-year reunion. So in prep for that, I watched like 5 and 6 and most of like 7 Part Deuce. I was watching those later ones. They're fun. It was good to see them. And one thing that I was talking about with my family, we were watching it, and probably because there was like, it was such a big production, there were so many kids on board, but those kids who grew up in those movies beat the trend and are seemingly pretty normal people, you know, like they're not
Which movies?
The Harry Potter movies.
Oh, the Harry Potter movies.
Now that they're adults, they're not like crazy fucking drug addicts or anything, living in a gutter. So
not yet.
I think it's now a requirement, at least in Hollywood, to have like an on-set child therapist anytime you have a child on staff, things like that, so that you don't have like really horrible situations happening.
Well, and there were so many kids that they had like school together, you know, all that. So I think that like really helped, and it was such a big production where you're not just like the only kid on set, like fucking Macaulay Culkin or something. Let's see. So I watched those. Oh God, I hadn't seen it since we saw it in theaters, Bob. I watched The Thing 2011, and I was thinking like, okay, I know this movie gets a lot of like hate, but it can't be as bad. I was like, I don't remember it being so bad, and it just can't be that bad.
I've heard positive reviews of it since, which is interesting.
It's not good. I don't know who's giving it positive reviews. Is it Blurb? Is it?
No, I don't know, but
Is
it's
it
like I've seen
Babu
people
over
have
here?
cooled their hot takes
Fucking
about it being the worst thing ever made or whatever. They're like, it's
Babu.
fine. It's just not as good. That's kind of the purveying thing that I've
Yeah, it's the problem is it's got a bunch of like shitty CGI, and they really abandon a lot of the things that make the first one cool. And it's supposed to be a prequel, so it's supposed to be the Norwegian one that you see, but they don't line up like any of the plot points that lead into this movie that they based it on. There's one thing for sure. Like, okay, so they bring back the block of ice the thing breaks out of. They do the double-faced thing or whatever, so you see where that comes from. But like the two guys who end up chasing the dog, that like in the movie, I don't want to spoil it, but there's no people left alive to do that. They literally do. And the space they show the footage in this movie of the spaceship, them breaking it out of the ice, and then it's not in ice, they're walking on it. McCready and like this in this movie, the 2011 one, it's in a cave. Like underground. Yeah, it's stupid. Like I don't know. And they like bring in a bunch of Americans so that they can speak English. So like there's some Norwegian guys, but the Americans are the ones who survive.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you this? If The Thing 1982 did not exist, would you feel the same, more or less, about like
I would,
how bad the quality of the film itself is?
The CGI looks really bad, and what they did with it, like the tentacles and stuff, it looks silly to me. It looks the two-faced thing was probably the coolest, and they kind of saved that, because they know that that's a big payoff. But the other monsters that they create themselves look rough. Yeah, it look honestly.
Is the acting good? Is anything the soundtrack?
It actually is very reminiscent of like one of those Resident Evil films, because like the tentacle thing, like one of the monsters is very much like Liquor from Resident Evil. It's very much like it's great. It's not good. I've been watching The Simpsons, and actually this is going to be in prep for later this year. I've been watching season 9, and we're gonna start back with the horror Treehouse of Horror this year at season 9. And one of the reasons I want to watch some Simpsons, but one of the reasons I picked this season is because last year I was reviewing the Treehouse of Horrors, and I wasn't really sure how the quality of those seasons were as like Simpsons seasons. And so I want to kind of get familiar. I was actually surprised at how many classic episodes I remember from season 9, and it's still good. Like it's not the downward quality I suspected it was. And so that was interesting. I think that will help my opinion this year when we eventually get to Treehouse of Horrors. And then finally, I was not having a very good day, and I just needed like just some feel good feels, and I watched Little Giants, and I haven't seen that.
Rick Moranis,
dude, with fucking Rick Moranis, and I hadn't seen that movie. I used to watch the shit out of that movie as a kid, like so much. And I haven't seen it probably since I was a kid, if I can remember. And it was so wonderful. It actually held up pretty good. And it's funny watching it as an adult. So many things, you watch things as a kid, so many things go over your head. I was watching it this time. I was like, oh shit, I get these fucking jokes now that I never got before. It was nice. I thought it held up well, but it's because I was very familiar with the film. But I liked it. I thought it was good, and it gave me the little like superficial high I needed. So that's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching? New Year's,
a lot.
2020 deuce.
So I went to watch Licorice Pizza in the theater, which is the latest movie from Paul Thomas Anderson. I I really enjoyed it, man. If you dig PTA stuff, I feel like you'll probably enjoy this movie. It's very much kind of like a
mixed things, but
really, it's a coming of age movie. It's not quite as heavy as some of his other stuff. So if you're expecting it to be kind of like a big thanker, it's not. It really just is coming of age. It's like not much more than that. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought the performances were really fantastic. The lead actress, whose name I can't remember, she's she's in that band Haim with her sisters, and her sisters are in this movie as well. It's got fucking Tom Waits in it. Tom Waits fucking kills it. He's not in the movie a whole lot, but the little bit that he is there, it's fucking great. It's 70s coming of age. I really enjoyed it for what it was.
Nice.
After that, I wanted to revisit There Will Be Blood because I hadn't seen it since it came out. So I threw that on
that movie so much.
I hated it when I first saw it. I enjoyed it so much more this time around.
Yeah.
It's not like a very deep plot, but it's like doom and gloom start to finish.
Yeah.
And like the more you get to know about this character, like the more he reveals himself to be just like a soulless,
a bastard in a basket, you might say.
Fucker. Yeah, you might. It's a great movie, but it's a long haul, and by the end of it, you just like
Purely
are
and
left
simply evil.
You're left purely and simply evil, yeah, for fucking sure. But solid movie nonetheless. Also, have been watching that 70s show.
Oh, really?
Almost wrapping up the first season here. I've seen like bits and pieces of it. You know, growing up, it was always on TV. But we started.
This is an Alice watch, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, like we had.
I'm sure you agreed, but
yeah, we had a couple shows that we've been watching over the past year that we had just concluded, and one is like a light show, which was Bob's Burgers, and one was a heavier show, which was The Sopranos. So like we were like, okay, well, let's pick up something new that's light, and we agreed on that 70s show. And we've been working through that. And the heavier show, which is another HBO show, is Treme. So we're kind of been balancing between those two. Really enjoying that 70s show for what it is. It's light. It's hilarious. Red. I know I'm old as fuck because I now just I see myself as fucking Red Foreman. Treme is great. I've seen it before. It's based in New Orleans. It's a portrait of a city. If you have any interest in the city of New Orleans, watch Treme. It's on HBO Max. It's fucking great. Also, we watched The Matrix Revelations in the theater, and I think that's probably where I got COVID, which was kind of a bummer. The movie.
Thanks, Alice.
It's not worth it. Yeah, definitely Alice's fault. Matrix Revelations, like I didn't really like anything beyond the first one, and this didn't really do it for me either.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you are a huge fan of the trilogy, you probably got something out of this new installment, though. We did a triple feature on New Year's Eve, and this is where I'll end it because COVID happened. We had to quarantine for New Year's. So we started the night with Birdemic 2, which is just as bad as Birdemic. It's slightly worse only in the fact that the director's like in on the joke now, so he's sort of like self-referential, and it's kind of like wink wink nudge nudge.
He's a Wusso now.
Yeah, so it's not as like the lightning in a bottle is kind of gone. It still like does ridiculously wild things that's I think is worth watching still. We then threw on The Cable Guy, which is a fucking all-timer. I love that movie. Jim Carrey, dark comedy. Watch it. Jack Black is fucking great in it. And then rounded out the night with Clue, which is
nice.
Arguably one of the greatest movies.
Really ramped it up after Bert.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you really stepped. Like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah.
I will say, Randy missed a great opportunity for a bump because you know who stars in Little Giants besides Rick Moranis?
Who is it? Ted Bundy? Not Ted Bundy.
Well,
Al Bundy.
That Al Bundy does, but also one of Rob's absolute favorites.
Oh, is it?
I'm a sour boy.
Oh yeah, he's the QB for the Little Giants.
My boy Devin. Sour.
Bob, I'm
that's so
surprised you
funny.
don't own that one on 4K since old Sal is in it.
There's
Can I-
there's no way that's on 4K. There's
Since-
no way.
Since Clue came up, can I read this tweet that made me laugh so hard today?
Dude.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote about Clue. All right, here we go. Since Tim Curry is trending, I'd like to share that I once met him years ago and I told him that I loved Clue. And he looked at me dead in the eyes and with no emotion whatsoever said, I bet you do. And then he turned and walked away.
Damn.
That's
The
Curry.
coldest Curry I've ever heard about.
Why is Tim Curry trending?
I don't know. I actually don't know. He was trending for some reason or another, but I just happened to see that today. It may have not even been trending, but his name just came up on this, and it
I
made
don't
me
like
laugh
my
so
curry
hard.
cold. I like hot curry.
And
not
then
cold
people
curry.
told a bunch of sweet stories about him too. So whatever this
Yeah.
was, it was just Tim Curry being fucking crazy. I love
I
it.
bet you do.
Quick credit of that was to at Carla Kakowski. So credit where it's due. That shit's hilarious.
Damn. We need to do like a curry-thon. We've never covered Clue, have we?
No.
No.
Holy God. And we've never covered Rocky
Holy
Horror
God.
Picture Show either. We need to have
No.
a curry-thon.
No, it didn't. Didn't
No.
we?
No, it's been
God,
on at
why
least
did I think we
one
did?
or two polls, but it has not won.
Dude, how have we
shit.
not done Clue? That needs to be on our classics list. What the fuck is wrong
Dude.
with us?
I don't know. That's like because it's all one of those horror
we
adjacencies.
just talked about Jaws
Yeah.
and Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we
true.
I
got.
know. Like, what do
We
you
got
mean?
a lot to
There's
do.
1.5 million fucking movies to review at all times. So
True.
just and we
Yeah.
talk about Clue constantly. It's not like people don't know what we think.
True. We got one more segment to get into, and that is, of course, our hotline screams.
Hotline scream.
Dan, do we have like 20 voicemails? We haven't-
Nah, just one, I believe.
Oh,
If
damn.
you are
We haven't done it in a
No.
couple weeks.
No. Yeah. People do
If you are
not
listening-
contribute unprompted.
and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on our next show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We do have one voicemail this week. I believe it's a mystery caller. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
So I think in one of your episodes back, like recently, you said Christmas related stuff. So my little sister does not do horror movies. Like, I think she's seen 5 in her whole life, which is like the original Halloween, Alien, Unfriended, one of the Saw movies, I can't remember which one, and whatever Last House on the Left that Jennifer Lawrence was in. Anyway, she's dating this guy, and he's into horror. So she texted me one day, do you think I could watch Halloween Kills? And I was like, yeah, slashers aren't usually terrifying. They're just, like, gory. But I told her, please screen the movie past me before you get tickets, because this is the same girl that when Saw Unfriended, and she had to leave her laptop in my room for the night. Anyway, so she's seeing this guy, and he made her watch Christine. So I got her Christine the book, because I'm hilarious. But I'm kind of hoping she doesn't like it so I can have it for my collection, because I bought it used, because, you know, save money, live better. And it's got a badass cover, of course, so kind of want it for my collection. So, again, happy holidays. Later, alligators.
That's some scheming ass gift giving right there.
The spirit of Christmas. I guess
Yeah.
that will be regifted to you.
Yeah. I bought you something I want so that you will not want it and want me to have it instead.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
I can't say I haven't made that move myself.
I used to buy Rob Him albums all the time.
on vinyl.
The fact that
180
you just
grams.
cop to wanting him albums is the biggest problem with that store.
You know, I already had a copy, so I was like, I just gave it back.
Ooh, this one's not him. This one's yours.
Yeah. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Thanks for spreading that Christmas cheer, even though we got to you late. Hopefully you got that fucking Christine book. I hope you did.
Yeah.
So since
Or
that came up,
hopefully your sister likes Christine.
Oh yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
So since that came up, I was thinking, I think another sneaky horror that we never really think about is the Blackcoat's daughter.
Is it Christmas? I guess it is. Isn't
They
it?
go
'Cause it's
home
holiday
for Christmas
over holiday
vacation.
break.
Yeah, that's why she's
Oh.
there alone.
Oh,
But I
And
like
I
that movie,
I
so-
think in the I think in the Nuns, Like how, like, you know, there's the school and then the nun's house. I think like
Mhm.
it's set up for Christmas there.
You might be right. I just
Potential
don't care
sneaky
for that
Christmas
movie. So.
movie.
Yeah, that
it's-
movie is pretty.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's
It's
on the
very,
low
very
list of the
fine.
A24 horror movies.
Yeah.
Worst portrayal of the
Some people
devil in
really-
any A24
Yeah.
movie I've seen. That shit's
Some people really like love that movie, and you know,
Yeah.
power to them.
Yeah.
But man, it just washed right over me and exited the
Yeah.
back of my brain in an
I
instant.
agree.
I just didn't do it. Didn't do it.
but could be good for sneaky Christmas.
Maybe we got this year figured out already.
Yeah, we do.
Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out there for people to call in? It's the new year. What are we talking about?
We've
bringing
been
back
talking about
hotline?
on Slack.
I don't know.
People talking about their
Food?
diets and their food
Yeah,
choices.
workout
Any new
regimens.
food choices you've been making? Any
No.
recipes? I don't know. That's a bad prompt.
Any recipe?
You,
Give us your recipes, honey.
you picking up any new kinks? You know, any new sexual
New kinks for the new year.
goals?
Maybe that's your
Yeah.
New
What's
Year's
your new
resolution.
fave position?
Be more
Yeah.
kinky.
Be more
Yeah.
kinky.
Some of you could use that for a New Year's resolution. Just saying.
It's true.
What gauge
Maybe
of
you
butt
wanna.
plug are you into?
All you vanilla beans out there. Some of you won't even lick ass already.
You know, I like vanilla beans, but I don't like the little grain in my. I only like my plain fucking McFlurry. No Oreo.
Oh, Randy. Give me that tongue-nado, dog. Let me feel it.
Tongue-native.
Let me feel it.
That sounds like a sincere request.
I didn't want this to be a classy episode all the way through.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well,
Are we?
Oh, we could just ask about New Year's resolutions, blanket
Yeah.
statement. Like, have you made any? Are they sexual
Ooh, I
related
know I
or
have.
not?
Not sexually, but
Are they sexually related?
Yeah.
I'm going to be trying to read some books. I know that the Slack is talking about doing a book club, reading The Only Good Indian, I believe is the first book they're doing. So if you're into that sort of thing, join our Slack, join the conversation. God, I love shilling.
Yeah, do it. Slack is where it's at, man. Honestly, we've got a great community of people over there. We talk literally every day about horror movies, obviously, yeah, but you know, video games, just general life stuff. We talk about books, video games. We trade like, you know, recipes, just anything and everything, man. It's a great
Wow.
community.
How much does it
join.
cost?
$100.
It's free.
Wow,
just
how
gotta-
do I join?
You just got to hit us up and be like, hey, let me join Slack, and then I'll send you a link, and then you follow it, and then you're there, and that's it.
Then you
That's
wire
about
Wow.
Serge you $100 and you're set to go.
Justin
Send to
wants,
Venmo
wants
at
your money.
Soju.
and Randy wants your butthole. That's what he wants.
I think it's well established that I do not.
It's well established. It's been documented many times.
Well, call in and let us know what your New Year's resolutions are. Hit us up at 904-638-3231. We'll play those voicemails next episode. Speaking of next episode, we're going to be back next week with a brand new show. Just like always, we're talking about the first Patreon pick of 2020 Deuce. This was chosen by Alex K, and the movie is 2005's Doom. Doom.
European style.
we have a long
Yeah.
history with old Doom.
We
Doom.
somehow
Do we?
Which
do.
we do, which we're
I
going to
guess
talk
I
about
don't.
next week.
Okay.
Fucking Doom with goddamn. It's I don't
The
know.
Rock.
Coming in
I,
with virginal eyes.
I'm excited to watch this again. I will say I haven't
It's
seen it
been
since it
many,
came
many
out, so,
years.
yeah,
I've actually played the full original Doom game. That's the only Doom experience I've had.
There you go.
dude, good for The Rock. Like he started from the bottom, you know. Like,
He was a wrestler.
This was before he became Dwayne in earnest.
yeah.
He
this
really,
was
dude,
what
he
was,
like heads
The
up
Rock.
every big ass Disney movie now.
Yeah, that dude is paid. He's got his own tequila. For God's
Yeah,
sake.
that dude's has got banged. Good for him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So slam your eyeballs into Doom. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes and on Spotify. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. Don't forget to bother Fangoria. Let them know how much you love our show. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of our social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Wow.